along with Gene Galvin and me. I'm Megan Hills. We're recorded live in front of a brilliant studio audience at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky.
My daddy came home.
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen,
every day
Mr.
from
Springer.
Whoa. Boy, it's a good thing they put an addition onto this.
Thank
so
God.
We fit the more people in. Hey,
Hey, you know,
what?
last week and
Yes.
actually a couple times recently, we have brought up the fact that you were mayor of Cincinnati back in the 70s or
Yep.
something. And that when you were mayor of Cincinnati, and we discussed this as recently as a week ago on one of our episodes, that you gave keys to the city.
I gave
to
keys to the
everybody.
city, to everybody.
Well, to all performers, because you wanted to meet
Because
those
that's
people.
how I got to meet them. I'll give you a key to the city if you come and do a concert here.
Right.
And I got, oh yeah, it was great.
Major people, Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan.
Linda Ronstadt, maybe.
Linda Ronstadt, Emmy Lou
Eagles.
Harris, the Eagles, Eddie
All the
Money,
Eagles?
the Steve.
Did you give all the Eagles? a
All,
key?
every time we saw an eagle, we gave it. Yeah.
I know Megan and I were wondering, of course, Megan's parents weren't even alive at that time, much less Megan. But we always wondered, how come we didn't get keys to the city,
I
right, Megan?
wondered that, yes, absolutely.
And I
Yeah.
did get one
But
from
not-
another subsequent mayor, a huge ceremony.
Oh,
They-
in
the parking lot?
well, it was in
It was
parking
huge.
lot of a union hall.
This was what?
Second.
Trunk was open, he was putting some in it. I said, what's that? And a cardboard box, keys to the city. You want
What key?
one?
What
He
is
handed
it?
me one.
Is that Ludlow?
No, it's
Cincinnati, man.
City of Cincinnati.
Oh,
But
that's
here's
right.
the, oh, by the way,
Mine
So
were
thanks,
nowhere
Jerry. We
near.
appreciate that.
well, there's a photo of you giving a key to the city to Bob Dylan.
Yes.
And it's a very cool picture. I put it today on our website. Go to jerryspringer.com. It's there.
It looked like the Battle of the Noses. No. Because we're both facing each other and there's a profile picture. And mine is bigger than his.
There was, I never.
Yeah,
never
but go
mind.
ahead.
Interesting.
Nose.
I know.
Anyway, and Dylan, and it's kind of cool to see a young Jerry Springer and a younger Bob Dylan, and Dylan's holding up the key to the city, and you know it's kind of cool. And by the way, Bob Dylan just received about 6 months ago the Nobel Peace Prize for Literature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the
From
Nobel
Sweden,
Prize
I
for
guess.
Literature.
Nobel
right.
Prize for
It was
Literature.
next to the key. It was the biggest award he ever got.
So I put on our website a link to this half-hour speech that Dylan gave about to this. You have to do a lecture. If you get the key, and pardon me, if you get the award, you have to travel over there and you have to give a lecture. And he gives, but he didn't go. He sent someone to stand in for him to
Right.
receive it.
Oh, yeah,
and
they
give
didn't
the
like
lecture.
that.
So you have one. Yeah, I think you have a 6-month period. You better give a lecture and provide it to them in recorded form. He did, and it's kind of jazzy. He's got a little jazz piano in the background. Some people may have heard it. If you have not heard it, our listeners, go to jerryspringer.com, upper left-hand corner, click on this link, and it's Bob Dylan explaining. I don't know. You kind of hear it as a defense for why he got the prize, because
Yeah.
people said to him, and he says this in the opening, he says, I had friends say, would you get the award for literature? Why'd you get it?
People were upset.
Yeah.
Some people were
way
upset
about
about
it,
that.
yeah.
And he gives this 27-minute, it's wonderful in my opinion, I'm an old English major, rambling explanation where he explicates 3 major pieces of literature he claimed he read during grammar
Yeah.
school. The Iliad, All Quiet on the Western Front, Hemingway, and Melville's Moby Dick.
Mm-hmm.
And he's quoting all these rich metaphors and symbols. And all those pieces of literature are packed with it. And then he gets into talking about his music. And he says, when I studied this literature, I discovered there were some images that made no sense, that they had no meaning, talking about Melville and
Sure.
Hemingway.
Sure.
And he says, I did that in my music.
No.
Yeah.
I wrote some songs that had some images in them that didn't mean anything.
I'm
No,
sorry.
don't tell
It
me.
makes me so
Is
mad.
that pisses
It
you
makes
off
me
a lot.
so
Don't tell me that.
Mad.
Yeah, right.
No, it makes me mad because that's intentional obscurity, and that is
messing with people.
It really makes me angry.
Yeah.
And what it does is, in my opinion, and I'm an artistic person, I
Yep.
like art for art's sake, but at the same time, when you tell your audience, oh, I just threw it on paper, it didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's infuriating.
When
to
I
me.
found out, because when we were young, I remember that song, "The Witch Doctor." Ooh,
Yeah.
ee, ooh, ah, ah, ting, tang, walla, walla, bing, bang.
Yeah.
When I found out that didn't mean anything, I was crushed. I couldn't help.
You know, it's interesting.
Wow.
The things.
You really always elevate a conversation, Jerry. You really do. You just boom.
Well, the way I
You're
think of
talking
it,
about Melville? No.
it's interesting, isn't it, Megan? The things that entertain a simple mind.
Yeah.
No.
Are we on yet?
No,
Simple
actually.
mind, I could be president.
There he is. He's back.
He's back.
Good for you for showing up, Jerry.
At the end of the day, Dylan says, and when you're writing music, and he says, I wrote words to be heard behind music, and which would be like a playwright writing words to be acted out on the stage, not to
Sure.
be read. And ultimately, he says, if you're writing music, this is his justification. Not saying he's right or wrong, but this is how he justifies it. He says that some of these lines that even I didn't know what they meant, but I liked the way they sounded.
But that's
And
different. There is
that's
purpose to that. That's
poetry.
not just throwing something on a canvas or on paper for the
Oh,
sake
that's
of
how he
it.
justifies it.
Yeah, and so if that's it, that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
I still think he's kind of a bit of a jerk. So
Yeah, well, that's interesting.
Like, just not even going to
and like I
accept
say, I think it's worthy of being listened to, and you draw your own conclusions.
Sure.
And I tried to find some connection to our podcast, so I dug out this picture that I did have of you giving him. But here's the thing that Dylan doesn't know. I got to get a prop here, maybe that for Facebook Live. That's a bottle of beer. And this is the official key to the city of Cincinnati. So it says Mayor Charlie Lucan on it.
Sure,
That's who gave that to me.
yeah.
Now,
He
this
really
is
had the
what
key.
this is for.
Oh,
And that's the truth.
that's why it said Mayor Charlie Lucan.
Nah.
It's a joke.
Hey,
Charlie's
hey.
a good friend. Oh, what? Just joking.
Legit bottle opener. Way to go, Cindy.
Yeah.
It's just a bottle opener.
Yeah.
We got that. Yeah, and you can just picture the people in the mayor's office. And
Oh.
we have Jene Beaupre sitting here tonight, an old friend who's worked forever
Oh,
in the
yeah, he
in
was one of the guys
various
that ran
mayor's
the mayor's office.
And you can just picture people saying, who work in various mayor's office, they probably call up some novelty company that sells stuff just for the Christmas party or something, the holiday party. Hey, get some keys that open beer bottles
It's like
and
the
then stick
flip-flops that open beer bottles.
That's all it is. It's like a
That
flip
is
flop that
true.
opens a beer bottle.
We'll do that next year for Ludlow. Ludlow, that's nice.
Yeah.
You got that.
Yeah.
I gave you that.
Yeah, instead of giving a key to the city, Ludlow should give a flip flop that
Flip-flop.
opens a beer bottle.
I love it.
So, I don't know.
I didn't realize that. That is a great idea.
Yeah.
Was your key that you gave out, was it a bottle opener? Do you know?
It was a key. I don't want to say what it was a key to. But
Oh, dear God.
Yeah, it makes me think of the time.
Yeah, think
didn't
of
you
something
sing
else.
with
Yeah.
Little Richard once?
yes,
King of the
Is that right?
South.
I sang on national television with Little Richard.
Where?
And I'm not talking about my grandson, whose name's Richard. No, it was Dick Clark's 50th anniversary special on ABC.
Before or after the stroke?
Well, if I was on, probably after.
Yeah.
No, but it was his before. It was his 50th anniversary special of the Dick Clark Show.
Yep.
And ABC ran it on a Sunday night, and they brought back. Forget me for a second. A lot of who were still alive, the great acts that had been on the Dick Clark Show all these years.
Mm-hmm.
And I got invited, which was absurd. Joking aside, there was no reason for me to be on because everyone else was a famous musician with big songs. And, what my agent said to me is, well, they want to have because back then our audience I had a young audience with the show. They thought maybe we'll make the show a little bit younger and you get on there. Can you play anything? And I said, well, I could play a couple of chords on a guitar. So they said, fine, get up there. So I go to the rehearsal. And the group they put me with, it's Little Richard, the Pointer Sisters, and Chicago.
Oh my God.
And I'm up there playing the guitar, and we play Good Golly Miss Molly, Little Richard song. So during rehearsal, this is God's truth, during the rehearsal, right in the middle of the song, I say, stop, stop! And I point to Little Richard sitting there at the piano. I said, that's a G! And well, we got along great.
And it was
after
weird
that.
because he never went back to the Dick Clark show again.
Oh, the other guy that was on, who was a very good musician, Belushi, the son, the brother.
Jim.
Jim
Jim or
Belushi.
John?
He's a good Jim. He's a good musician. He was playing up there too. He could really play, and they had me just play a few of the chords.
Yeah.
But anyway,
And you
Little Richard.
And you also, you know, and speaking of Little Richard, didn't you do negotiations with the PLO?
Again, the king of the segues. It's just
Well, didn't you?
I did, but that's another podcast.
You think so? That's a whole different.
It's a long
podcast.
story. Actually, it's a good story because it goes. I'll tease you a bit with it, but it was back in 1979. Mitch McConnell is involved in the story.
Now, he's the senator
the
from
United States
Kentucky,
Senator,
where we're sitting.
and John Ashcroft.
Yeah.
Because we were all about the same age, and back then they took the State Department sent young political leaders. You know, I'd been the mayor, but they took young political leaders on the theory that some of us would stay in politics and move to positions of leadership. So they wanted to educate us. So they sent us for 18 days to the Middle East, and the relevance of it, and we'll talk about it another time because it really is a longer story. But it goes to the whole concept of back channels and how they happen. And they don't happen like just happened in the White House with Jared Kushner. They don't happen like that. There's another way they happen, and I'll tell you about it. But it was a really amazing story, and I didn't know I was a back channel at the time it happened. I mean, until we came back home. And that's when all of a sudden you get brought to the State Department, and you know, the whole thing was set up ahead of time. So it's
I want to hear that story, Jerry.
it
That was
really
a
is
good
story.
tease.
It really was. Yeah.
And
then I sang. But the countries we went to, it was 5 days in Israel, and I'd been to Israel, but you know, before. But then it was 9 days in Syria, and 5 or 6 days in Jordan. Well, however, that came to 18. But anyway,
Nice.
but that's what it was, and yeah, I mean, it was amazing, particularly being in Syria, not just being an American, but also being Jewish. That was an amazing experience. But
I've heard you say many times that the coolest job you ever had was being mayor of a city.
yeah, nothing was close to it.
It's
It really
interesting.
was. People were crazier at city council than they were on my show. but, you know, I wanted to see normal life for a while, so I started my television show. Talk about the loonies.
Yeah, I do believe that. Though.
Yeah.
And I
No,
know
yeah, that was the best job.
And there are continued speculations about you running for
And so now moving on.
various,
And it's
running
getting
for
good. I read some of
various
those comments.
offices.
No,
Yeah.
but I do have a great idea. You know, I made that quote about if I ever decide to run, if I ever decide to throw my hat in the ring, I will let, you know, the media know.
Yeah.
But right now I don't even have a hat.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, if I ever decide to do it, I'm going to hold a press conference in front of it. There's a haberdashery
Yeah.
on
Okay.
Vine and
Yeah.
That's
Fifth.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm going to announce. I'm going to buy a hat, walk out, and go. And that's how you find out.
But you don't have anything you want to announce tonight, one way or another, do you? I mean,
Yeah, I'm going to announce for Ohio in Ludlow, Kentucky.
yeah.
Again, Gene with the business plans.
Yeah.
That would be a good idea.
Because what I really want is voters to think about me in Kentucky.
Oh, I get that.
Get
You
it?
get that,
There's a
Megan?
reference.
Yeah.
That was a- we call
that's
that
a good
callback
that's
humor.
Bob Dylan-like, isn't it? What?
That's what it's called. Callback humor.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to have a little bit later on Ryan Sinclair and all the little pieces. This is a really cool band. Lexington, Kentucky, I think, is where they hail from, and we're looking forward to that. Hey, Jerry, you know, we've had some sort of light banter here, but this is not light at all. But there was another attack, this one, on London Bridge. And our president made some comments afterwards that involved the mayor, speaking of mayors, the mayor of London, England. What's your take on all of that?
Well, the best way to get to that story is to start with another thing, which at first seems unrelated, and then I'll bring it together, and it'll all, I hope, make sense at the end. This week is also the 50th anniversary of the Six-Day War. And in fact, June 5th, yesterday, 50 years ago. And I remember it vividly. And I remember it vividly. I was 23 years old, and it was the summer between my second and third year of law school. In fact, this particular morning was, I would get up and I would then pack, because I was coming to Cincinnati, Ohio for the first time in my life. I'd never been to Cincinnati, and I was coming to Cincinnati because I just accepted a summer job with a law firm here in Cincinnati that ultimately hired me, and that's how I came to the city. Anyway, my mom comes and wakes me up early in the morning, and she's crying. And the reason I get emotional is because honestly, I don't ever remember my mom, at least up till that point, crying, except when I started singing. But you know, and she's crying. You know, so you wake up, you're a kid, and not kid, I was 22, 23. But you know, you see your mom crying, and you all of a sudden think the word, what's going on? And she said, Israel's just been attacked. Of course, she didn't have the details exactly right yet. And she says, here we go again. And, you know, for those of you who don't know, she lost her entire family, except for her sister, in the Holocaust. They all died in the camps, my dad's and my mom's side. So but it was something they never talked about at home. So, you know, and she says, you know, here we go again. I mean, she was shaking, and it kind of blew me away because it's something we never talked about, and here we are in America, and it's nothing that ever crossed my mind. I never ran into any discrimination being Jewish and all that, but you have to understand, for her life, the first 33 years or so of her life, she was spent in Germany, the country she was born in, or, you know, for as many generations as we can figure out, go back, you know, they were German Jews. And it was her country, and her country turned on her, and then the whole family was exterminated. She, you know, has to leave. They run away literally 3 weeks before Hitler goes into Poland to start World War II, and they have to learn English, and then they come to America. They went to England. They come to America, and you know, the rest of the story is a wonderful life here in America. But that suddenly, it's like, it just shook her up. It's like, oh my God, here we go again. They're going to eliminate all the Jews. How does that relate to what just happened? Because I can understand the horror of what happened just in London, and I wonder, other than that obvious horror of it, imagine if you're a Muslim family here in America, and what is suddenly going through your mind any time there is such an event. And here they're living in America, Muslim, you know, millions of Muslims, lovely, law-abiding citizens, all kinds of professions. Their kids are in school. Just 99.9%, 99.9999% of all Muslims, you know, don't commit terrorist acts, okay? They're just like everybody else. They have their religion. Everyone here is whatever. People have their own religion. That's theirs. But they're not, they're lovely people. And suddenly, they have to be thinking what Mom must have thought in Germany. This is the country they pledge allegiance to. They love it. They root for the ball teams. They're just as emotional about America as anybody else. And suddenly, the President of the United States is in a sense saying, you're the enemy. You Muslims, we're going to have a ban. He starts tweeting about a ban again, which, by the way, is unconstitutional and will be tossed out. But that's the feeling he's trying to get out here in America. And then he tweets picking on the mayor of London, who happens to be Muslim, but is a wonderful mayor, loved by the people in London, wins big elections, wins by a big margin, bright, wonderful, he's everything you want a citizen to be, and Trump, like an idiot, is attacking him. That'd be like attacking Rudy Giuliani on September 12th. The greatest thing Rudy Giuliani ever did was his behavior during the attack. We all see that. Imagine if someone had attacked our mayor when the city has just been victimized. What kind of a human being, what kind of a person does that? And then I thought, remember what England has just been attacked. And remember what on 9/11, the next day, in France, the newspaper in Paris, "Today we are all Americans." In London, Queen Elizabeth, in Buckingham Palace, had the palace guard, I forget the exact name of it, for the first time in British history, for the first time ever on the grounds of Buckingham Palace, played the Star-Spangled Banner. Go to the video. You can just Google Queen Elizabeth response to 9/11 and watch that video, and you too will have tears in your eyes. There are 5,000, that's what the report said, Americans gathering in London on September 12th, outside the gates of Buckingham Palace, listening to the British Guard playing the Star-Spangled Banner. First time in history. That's how Europe responded to us when we had our 9/11. That's how Europe responds to us, not having Trump go to NATO and bully one of the leaders out of the way and knock out of his speech that Article 5, we would support Article 5, where an attack on any NATO country would be an attack on America. That security, which has kept the world safe for 75 years, he can't even get himself to say that. He is a threat to the security of the United States of America. If you think terrorism is a threat in America and around the world, which it is, why in the heck are you going around antagonizing everybody we need to help us? We need the Muslim community. We keep asking the Muslim community, 99.9% are wonderful people, to help us, to be our eyes and ears for anybody that would do us harm. So you're going to go and insult them? Picking on the mayor of London was clearly because he was a Muslim. There was no, what, you think the mayor brought the terrorist act? He threatens the safety of the United States of America with his bigotry. That is the truth. So I get just as upset. In fact, it was last night. Mickey and I are getting ready for sleep, and we're talking about it. We were watching on the news, getting all ticked off about it. And so I tweeted. I don't tweet all the time, but I tweeted. What did I write? Something about Trump insults. Trump's insults of your. I said to our brothers in London. Trump's insults of your mayor are his own. He does not speak for America. We're not like that. And then the thought came after I sent it out that, yikes, am I going too far? Am I saying that Trump doesn't speak for America because, officially he's the president of the United States? And then I started thinking, this is a fiction we're all making up. Technically he got the electoral vote, so I understand that. But deep down, we all know that the American people didn't choose him to be our leader. We all know that. We all know Hillary got 3 million more votes. And that's the low estimate. Add to that, you can't, and we got more evidence last night, we know the Russians interfered. In fact, 4 or 5 days before the election. Not only did they interfere with our election, they now apparently hacked in to our voting systems. Oh my word. It could have been a lot more than 3 million. We have no idea what effect they had. Add to that, Comey. No human being on the planet Earth can believe that Comey coming out 11 days before the election and said Hillary's email, she might have done this, all this negative thing, which was the biggest story. And for the next week, I mean, all the Trump people were giving high fives in their headquarters. They were so excited about this. All of a sudden, Trump had a chance of winning because of this news. And then it turned out to not be true, as Trump came out and said, no, there's nothing going on with her in these. But it was too late. People had already voted. So we know that the American people did not vote for Trump. That is the truth. I understand you can show me the Constitution, the regulations, and say Trump is president because when we took a vote from the Electoral College, he got more. I get that. But knowing that the Electoral College is supposed to reflect the public vote, once you admit that the public vote was compromised, even more so than the 3 million votes we know Hillary got more than him, then of course we know he doesn't speak for us. And so all I'm saying is, don't feel guilty. Don't feel un-American. Is he legally the president? Is he legally allowed to be in the White House right now? Yeah, until we find out something else. Yeah, I get that. But he doesn't speak for us. We have got to let the rest of the world know. We've got to let our kids know. We've got to let Europe know that his behavior and the things he says is not who we are. We don't show up at funerals and start cheering. Showing up in England and tweeting what he did these last couple of days is so disrespectful. We're not like that. We are better than that.
All right, I'm going to ask Ryan.
My show is on every day at 11 on the Oh, the show we got coming up next week.
Oh, dear God.
Why do I do that?
I don't know.
Ryan Sinclair, and all the Little Pieces band are coming up to get set up, and we're very glad to have them on our show. It's the first time on. And Ryan, you are from, is it Lexington, Kentucky?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And people can hear Ryan and her band's music at allthelittlepiecesband.com, all spelled out. And do a song for us, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Just a little north of town was the 6-mile house. The weary travelers were going there, but they never came back. Her long raven hair was as dark as her heart. The look inside her soft blue eyes said she could do no harm. Love anyhow. She'll send your message to the devil when she reaches her home. Love anyhow, love anyhow. to the devil and free your soul. She said, do you have a family? Anyone expect you home? Well, yes, they had a vacancy, but the traveler knew something was wrong. He sat up all night, afraid of what might be in store. Suddenly there was a crash as the bed dropped through the floor. Lavinia, Lavinia, she'll send your message to the devil when she reaches her home. Lavinia, Lavinia, she'll give your message to the devil and free your soul. A little time went by and they heard Jones cry and they charged her for the crime. She tried to escape but she couldn't get away, so she was to be hanged. She stood there in her wedding dress as that rope tightened round her neck. She inhaled her final breath and jumped down to her death. Lavinia, Lavinia, she'll send your message to the devil when she reaches her home. Lavinia, Lavinia, she took my secret to the devil and freed my soul.
That's Ryan Sinclair, and by the way, it may not be obvious listening, but Ryan, you're 16 years old, right?
Yeah.
What?
It's amazing. Amazing. I mean, you started playing music when you were 11. You had your first band at 11.
Yeah.
And by the way, with Ryan, let's introduce these folks. They deserve it. Are Tony Karpinski in the back, I guess, singing backup.
On the next song.
And Matt, is it Megan on?
Mian.
on bass, and then another Matt Halverson on percussion in the back. And that song is about a young woman who in the 1850s, do I have this right?
Yeah,
Was
the
murdered.
1800s, yeah.
And you wrote this song to tell her story.
She was murdered, or she was the murderer?
Tell the story
She
real
was
quick.
allegedly the first female serial killer in the United States.
She was the serial
Yeah.
killer.
Yes.
Wow, tell us real fast about that and what caused you to write a song about it.
Well, the band was doing a few shows in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
And we went on a ghost tour, just ended up going on that and heard the legend of Lavinia Fisher. And I guess my Tim Burton influence kicked in, and I just some Sweeney Todd visuals, and I guess it just inspired me to write this whole concept album about this story.
And how many albums have you done now?
This will be my third.
And is original songs?
Yes.
See, this is amazing.
Very
We
16
love this.
years old. This
Yeah.
is
Yeah, we
phenomenal.
love this.
So you're
Yeah.
like a junior in high school?
Sophomore.
So,
Unbelievable. There's another young woman we've had on named Erin Coburn, similarly very talented, has a band, writing her own music. She's a little more blues, but we, Jerry and I and Megan, who are from different generations, Jerry and
I
I
have
are...
socks your age.
They have holes in them, by the way. We
Yeah.
don't want to see them. But it's really wonderful that young people are, and your style of music is Gillian Welch style. It's very it's very Appalachian. It sounds like it comes out of the hollers of Appalachia, and I guess that's your intention. It's got this wonderful folky storytelling sound, and songs you're writing are storytelling songs. We think it's amazing. So we give you a round of applause. Keep doing what you're doing, and sing us another song. This one's called From Here.
Yes.
Ryan Sinclair and All the Little Pieces Band.
Everyone I thought I knew is gone. Going got a little tough, so they just moved on. It only gets better from here. The power is down in this whole town. I lit a candle with my last match, but the candle burned out. It only gets better from here. Times they will try you, struggles will find you. Sometimes you just have to smile away the tears, 'cause it only gets better from here. I guess I'll just pack it up and leave. The road is the only home for me. It only gets better from here. Times they will try you, struggles will find you. Sometimes you just have to smile away the tears, 'cause it only gets better from here. From here. From here. It only gets better from
Okay, time out. You're 16. You wrote that song. How does a 16-year-old write it? And I don't mean it just as a joke, but actually, because that's about a life experience. So, where did you learn that? In other words, is that through your family, because that's incredibly insightful.
Before you answer, let me tell you something. Bob Dylan, I'm not making a joke here, and we talked about earlier about Dylan's speech receiving the Nobel Prize for Literature. He talked about what influenced his writing, stuff he read, as he put it, grammar school. And he started quoting these great pieces of literature, and as I say, I'm an old English major, so I read all those. You probably read those. Was it school that influenced? Was it literature classes? You have a line in that song, I wrote it down, "Road is the only home for me." That's an outstanding line. As Dylan would say, that just sounds good in that song. It just sounds good, but it also means something. It's folksy.
What prompted that song?
Yeah.
Or that one?
I think just life, just, looking around, seeing different, people and their different, paths that they're on. And
Marriages you've been through, wars you fought in, money that's been stolen from you.
Really
Guys, no,
Have you ever been on my show?
yeah.
Jerry, she doesn't know what your show is.
I know.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. I have a show at a local church. No,
It's outstanding.
I mean, it only is a compliment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And not only does it are the lyrics so cool,
Oh, the
it just
voice.
sounds so good.
Oh, your voice.
In your band, I don't know
How
what the
did
hell
you
you
guys
were
all
playing
get together?
percussion with.
Yeah, how
They
did
look
this all
like
come
rollers,
together?
paint rollers that you were. Are you serious?
Yeah, keys.
They
maybe.
really are.
If we can get you
Brooms.
I love it.
Yeah, if everyone puts together a couple of bucks, let's get some sticks.
But seriously, how did this all gel together? Because your ages are all different. How did
That's
you
what's
meet
cool.
these folks?
Well, I just knew them from some previous projects. We've worked on several different things together, and so they're joining me today. And
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's
And
really
by the
got a
way,
good vibe to it.
what just to give a comparison, if you heard I didn't, but I bet if you heard Linda Ronstadt, for example, at age 16, it might have sounded kind of like this. I mean,
Yeah.
you're a very
Emmylou,
good
yeah.
singer,
Yeah.
or Emmylou Harris, or any number of women who are now mature performers. But boy, stay on this. Are you? Do you go to a regular high school down in?
I'm
Lexington?
homeschooled.
I wondered if you were homeschooled. And I'm an old educator, and I don't like to play. I pretty much hate charter schools and all that because the whole political thing. But homeschooling for a person like you, in my opinion, that's what I would do.
So,
And
any of
who-
you related? Any of these?
This is my mom.
Oh, that's your mom. That is your mom.
I wonder.
So there is a gift
Oh.
that's passed down. There's some talent there.
This is how I'm a politician. I thought that was your sister.
You make me sick.
That is your mom.
Yeah.
That's
Because I
great.
was just going to say, where are your parents with all? Because you're 16 years old
Right.
and you're on the road here,
She's
so
right
good
there.
for you. Good for you.
And by the way, often when sisters or family members, I mean, you could name a whole lot of people, young and old, who were Everly brothers, who were from our generation, Jerry's and mine, with Kentucky roots. And they sounded so good together because they were family members. They sang together all the time. They had the same genes. And have you guys been singing together forever?
Since she was about, little bitty, she was able to sing in the adult church choir because we had such a small church.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so, we've been singing together since she was little.
That's
so.
awesome.
Boy,
the
it
home-
sounds like it.
Yeah, the home. Oh, wait a second. If you're schooled at home, we're on at 11 in the
No.
morning.
No, don't watch
We're
it.
so sorry. We're very sorry.
Mom's
Mom will
choking over
explain
there.
it. No,
She's a little-
Well, it's really, really
I
good.
told you we shouldn't come to this thing, she said.
Yeah, we are so glad you came by here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really.
that's great. All of you.
Awesome.
You're
Good
great.
job to all
Great,
you
great,
guys.
great.
Very good. We get all excited when we see young people coming up. And there is a 10-year-old young woman who's going to be singing a few weeks from now, who is being trained here in string instruments by one of the baristas who has this long history of playing, has played backup with the Harm Brothers, who are from Portland, and she's a former Chicago public school teacher. Her name's Hannah, and she's outstanding, and she's teaching this 10-year-old, and this 10-year-old is getting into songwriting. So it's your story. And at age 10, she wrote a song called The Detention Blues.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's going to perform that here along with a traditional mountain song, and she's going to do what you're going to do right now, which is take us out on down by the riverside. We're going to have an old hootenanny here. Ryan Sinclair and all the little pieces, man.
lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I ain't gonna study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. You all come back now, you hear?